Woohoo! What's going on, everyone? This is Steve Larson, and you're listening to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. Oh yeah. So here's the real mystery. How do real MLMers like us, who didn't cheat and only bug family members and friends, who want to grow a profitable home business, how do we recruit A players into our downlines and create extra incomes, yet still have plenty of time for the rest of our lives? That's the blaring question, and this podcast will give you the answer. My name is Steve Larson, and welcome to Secret MLM Hacks Radio. Hey, I still jam out to my own intro. I love it. Had a lot of fun making it. Hey guys, I'm glad you're here. It's been a busy week, a lot of stuff. Busy weekend. A lot of stuff's been happening. I pretty much spent the entire weekend either filming or preparing to film. And what I've been filming is, if you guys have been following this podcast at all, you know that I have a really awesome course coming out that basically helps you learn how to automate the recruiting process. It actually literally helps you automate the downline duplication process. Pretty amazing. But in order for you to actually do that, there's a lot of elements you have to go through. Anyway, so what I did is I spent a lot of time this weekend getting together. I actually printed out these massive 3-foot by 3-foot boards. And what happened was it was about a week ago, I stood up and I was like, hey, I'm ready. You know, the course is ready to go. This whole thing's been in beta for the last year. Great results. Had a ton of people get recruited to what I do without actually me even talking to them. I mean, the process works. I know it works. What I've been doing is just putting into a format course-wise that is easy to digest, but then also go and apply so that you can do the same thing. And I was like, hey, I'm ready to do this, and I set up this home studio, and I told some of this to you guys earlier, but I set up my home studio. I got like a few softbox lights and got my camera set up. And I've done this several times before in creating info products and such. This time was a little bit different though, because I stood up and it was like a big brain fog, and I was like, what's missing? Something's missing. The framework is missing. I understand. I was like, hey, I know each of these modules are going to be about, but like what, man, how should I start this? What's like the thing that's going to help everyone understand? And so what I did is I sat down and I, acted like a kid. Yeah, I'm a kid at heart till I die. And I started drawing, and I drew out a picture that represents each one of the modules. And it became so much clearer, holy crap, to both teach, and I know it'll be easier to understand, and it'll be easier, you know what I mean? Anyway, super exciting, very, very exciting. So what I did though is I first drew them out, and I'm not an artist at all, right? So I just grabbed like a legal piece of paper, a legal pad, and just drew it all out, and I made the graph. And then I was like, I should go find some graphic artist to make... basically to draw out these images and hand draw them and try and make them at least look somewhat good. And I went through and I just could not find anyone good. And I went through and I was like hiring this person. I was on freelancer.com just like hiring out all these people, and it was terrible. Finally I found some guy. He went through and he sketched it out, and with literally hours to spare, I went over to Kinko's, and I print these massive 3-foot by 3-foot boards. So anyway, it was a long story, but that's what's been going on over here. And I just barely filmed the intros to each one of these modules, and I'm super excited. And it was cool because every single time, this is why I always encourage anyone who's in MLM to go start publishing. And I know I've said that before in a very recent episode, but when you do so, you learn your craft so much deeper than if you just kept it inside your own head. Right? The ability to go teach somebody else. Here's an example. So I was in the Army for a little while, right? And there was a guy, we were out shooting one day, right? We were shooting and we were practicing. We were holding our M16s. We're out there, we're shooting. And I was a pretty good shot. I only missed a few rounds when I was at basic training, and I won a phone call home, which was kind of cool. And I won the phone call home, and I've shot, I wouldn't say a ton, but I did shoot quite a bit growing up, and I have always had a fascination with guns. But anyway, so I was shooting, right, and I was in the Army, and I'm shooting and I'm hitting my targets. I got really nice grouping, and the guy next to me, he's not even hitting the paper, and I was like, dude, you okay? He's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on, man. And I look over and he's like, my gun won't fire, man. My rifle's not shooting. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, it's so weird. And I look over at him, and we're really, really close to each other. So every time you shoot, like the little shells, and I promise that I'm going to place with this story, okay? So just bear with me for a second. But every single one of the rounds would like hit me in the face, and they're hot. They're coming right out of the, right out of the chamber, basically. They're right out of the mag well. And they come and they're hitting you in the face from the guy on the left. That's the way they eject. And I noticed that the guy to my right, there was no ammo coming out. He wasn't shooting. And I look over and he's like, what is wrong, man? He was getting really frustrated. And I look and his magazine is not only upside down, it's also backwards. The bullets were literally facing him. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, sorry, man. Sorry. Okay. Sorry about that. And he was really, really embarrassed because he kept acting all macho, like he knew what he was doing. And so I helped him actually load his weapon, and he starts shooting, and he's literally not hitting any of the paper at all. And I was like, what is going on? And I lean over. I was like, dude, are you okay? You're not even hitting the paper, like let alone any kind of grouping. And he's like, I don't know what's happening, man. I'm looking through my sights. I'm seeing it all. And I lean over and I was like, man, the front sight's up, but the back sight isn't, which basically means the back's all free flowing. I mean, the bullets could go anywhere at that point, right? And so I was like, I helped flipped up that back sight, and he starts shooting, and he's still not hitting the paper. And I was like, what is going on? And I look, and his settings are set to 500 meters rather than 300 meters. Basically means his bullets are lobbing way over top of the paper. And I was like, what the heck? What's funny, though, is the process of me doing that, of going side by side with him like that, I learned my own rifle even more deeply. And I already knew those concepts, but I was able to, because I was able to teach, because I was able to, be a coach, I was also able to understand more of my own craft, right? And so when you go out and you start teaching people and you start telling people about the MLM and you start saying, hey, this is amazing, this is something that, it's very, very helpful for you to go, start publishing, because you'll learn your own thing, And so that's what happened. I mean, the last few days especially. And so I was standing up in front of the camera and I was like, hey, this is, I got this cool thing coming up. And anyway, I finally got them printed out in these massive 3-foot by 3-foot boards. And it was really, really helpful to do that. So the first module is all about how you become attractive. It's all about how you attract people to you through several different ways. In each of these modules is several hours. They're massive. They're going to be really, really helpful. They're super cool. I'm really excited to make them. The second one is all about how you get paid to prospect. So even if someone doesn't join your MLM, how to actually get money. And I'll tell you from personal experience, with no ad spend last year, this system made for me $50,000, even from just when someone didn't even join, I was still getting paid. So it's going to show you how to do that, right? How do you actually get paid when you prospect people? The third module is all about how you actually duplicate yourself. What actually is it that you need to do in order to become duplicatable? Such a good module. It's massive. Anyway. No one teaches this stuff. This is why I get so animated about it, because I don't know anyway, whatever. So module 4, what I'm doing is I'm showing more about downline management and simple tweaks you can do, both to your culture, both to yourself, that will keep people with you longer and keep them engaged in your process, but then also specifically how you can, there's a really easy way to rob your downline that most people don't think about, and I want to show you how to not do that, which actually results in more money too, which is awesome. So and then the 5th module, though, is all about how I call it pick up your megaphone. And anyway, I don't want to jump more into that, but anyway, so I'm super stoked. So there's a picture now for each one of these things, and while I was teaching, my own craft became more clear to me. Happens every single time. It's kind of a roundabout way of me bringing this full circle. So I'm sorry, I know I've kind of been scatterbrained all over the place for this episode, but I learned that there is really only 2 currencies that you have in MLM. There's only 2. And there's only 2 advantages you can really have inside of MLM, right? Here's number 1. Right, and you guys obviously know this because it's something I talk about all the time. You have the same product as every other person, right? The exact same marketing, same messaging, same websites, same scripts. I mean, you get MLM and it's broken out of the box. In my opinion, very strong opinion, very backed up opinion, MLM's broken out of the box, right? You get something that's pretty broken. So, number 1, one of your currencies, right? One of the things that you have that's of value that others are not going to be able to have or not have as easily, or something that makes you stand out, right? One of your currencies is your ability to take that MLM and turn it into a new offer. How can I make it seem like if I join your MLM, how are you going to make me feel like that's a new opportunity? How are you going to make me feel like that's something that's brand new? That's kind of what the course goes over too. But how amazing is that? Just to realize, oh my gosh, like that's one of the currencies I have. That's one of the pieces of value. If you can figure that out, you can have people running to you and begging to join your downline, which is what's been happening to me, which is really exciting, right? Now, again, I'm not here like, look at me versus you. Like, that's not at all what I'm talking about. But I'm just trying to show you what I've been doing that's really, it's been working. It's awesome. Anyway, so number one, the first currency you have, the first real piece of value you have and the opportunity you have is, how do I make it seem like joining my MLM, how do I make it seem like joining my MLM is a new opportunity, right? How do I create an offer out of that? Okay. So if you can create an offer out of your MLM, that's massive, massive value, right? Now, someone said to me recently, because I was talking to them about it, they're like, wait a second, but my MLM is the offer. Like, no, it's not. Go back and listen to I can't remember what it was, a few episodes ago, I talk about how you create an offer out of your MLM, right? And the course goes way more in depth into, with checklists and everything. So, but how do I make a new opportunity how do I make an offer out of a product? Well, usually an offer is made up of a whole bunch of tiny products, right? There are a whole bunch of products that, and the value of them together is far more than what you're actually charging. Does that make sense? And so when someone joins your MLM, you might say, hey, when you join my MLM, you get X, Y, and Z with it. Meaning, I'll give you this course that teaches you how to talk to people, or I'll give you this. You see what I'm saying? That's how you take and you package that together and you say, hey, look, when you join the MLM, you're not bribing them. It's literally part of the offer. Does that make sense? Anyway, so that's the first currency. Currency number one, how do you become a new opportunity? How do you create a new offer? Make it seem exciting, like you're different from everybody else, like no one else can do what you have. Does that make sense? How do you do that? All right, so that's currency number one. That's the first piece of value you have. The second piece is you as a leader. So currency number one, how do I make my MLM seem like a new opportunity? Right? That's one of the upper hands you have on every other person out there. The other thing that you have, and in my opinion, the only other thing you have is you as a leader. There are some people who are so convincing in whatever they argue that even if they're wrong, you still believe them. Does that make sense? We call that the attractive character, right? And if your attractive character is so confident, right? Absolute certainty, right? And you're showing your backstory, and you're talking about things you believe and don't believe, meaning you're showing polarity, and you're showing your backstory and all the parallels and all the things that you do. I mean, if you're an actual leader, that is a currency in MLM. But most people aren't, and most people don't want to be, or they'll just, hey, this is a get rich quick thing. I just got to get a few people in there and make tons of money in a few years. Like, that's not how it works. And so what the course also goes through is how to become that kind of person. And hey, it's kind of a formula, honestly, on how you appear to be like that. Guess what? I was not this way even a year and a half ago. Me being super forward and being more, my polarity's increased. And it's because of a formula that I've been following that I teach inside, the upcoming course, which is awesome. So anyway, those are the two currencies though. So number one, think to yourself, why would somebody join me over somebody else? And if you can't answer that question, then you're going to appear just like everybody else. Sad truth, hard truth, but it's a truth. Does that make sense? Number two, the second piece of currency you have is, are you a leader? Are you somebody that other people follow? And if you can't answer that question, guess what? I don't believe that leaders are just born. You become one. All right. I was voted the nicest kid in high school, right? On my graduating class, out of 600 people, the nicest kid. Guess what? It was not because I was nice. It was because I was really shy. I had a fear of adults, very strong fear of adults. I always thought that they were always right, that I always had to kowtow to them. Does that make sense? And there's something to be said about respect, for sure. And I'm not telling you not to go respect adults or whatever, obviously I am one, but you know what I mean? Like, and I had this really, it was bad. And I had to overcome that. And so if you don't feel like you're a leader, if you don't feel like you're an attractive character, that's okay. There is a formula to it. Okay. And if you start hitting these points and you start to actually get, some motivation behind it, people are going to start following you because you will there's a science to becoming an attractive character, an actual science to it. And anyway, those are the parts I'm going to go through. So anyways, hopefully this episode I know it's a little bit scatterbrained, but that's where my thoughts have been. And I think that it's going to be really, really helpful to some people who might still be struggling with some of the concepts I talk about on this podcast, and more specifically the depth I'm about to jump into with this actual course. Go figure, all the things that I talk about inside of Secret MLM Hacks, they're all marketing principles, and I'm teaching you actually how to market inside of an MLM. So anyway, excited you're here, glad you're here. Hopefully that helps. So again, think through how you can create a new offer. Number 2, think through how you can become an actual leader, a more strong leader, one that is not afraid to stand up and in any kind of opinion. It's important to become opinionated, very opinionated in what you do. That doesn't mean you have to be a jerk, but you know what I mean? Anyway, hey guys, thanks so much. Hopefully it's been helpful, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening. Please remember to subscribe and leave feedback for me. Do you have a question you want answered live on the show? Go to secretmlmhacksradio.com to submit your question and download your free MLM Masters Pack.